So, Commissioner, you want to open the meeting? What do you want to open? And you want to turn your mic on?
Gavel, gavel. I guess we're here this morning preparing for the 2012-2013 budget process, and this is the first, I'm sure, of many daily meetings we'll be having. Our first person on the agenda, and unless Steve has something that he'd like to interject, will be Mike Biddle.
Right, and I just have a few comments that just as kind of general that before we started. First of all, we've made an attempt to get as many people scheduled in the 4 weeks we're going to do this, and we're going to be doing it over the next today plus 3 more Fridays. I think we've got a pretty tight schedule, but at the same time, as we found out last year, the people that come in with no changes, really didn't take a lot of time, but just give them opportunity to tell you about something that may be different in their program or information-wise. So hopefully we'll be able to move along and keep pretty close on schedule of things. Just briefly, our processes that we've used the last several years is, we first of all, Peggy has sent out the budget packets to the departments. Departments have prepared their proposed budgets and returned them to the auditor, and we now have the copy of at least everybody that's presenting today. She may be close to getting them all out, I believe. And so we're planning on department briefings today through, with the last one being June 8th. And basically the real reason of this is just give the departments, if they have any specific programs or big changes, et cetera, to get a chance to just to talk to you about it. So after, a few years ago when we didn't do a budget presentation, after it's done, there was quite a few departments that said, but we didn't even get a chance to talk to you about it. So this gives that opportunity. Once we're doing this early on, our tax appraisal values, the certified rolls don't come until the 25th of July. So basically between the 8th of June until early August, we'll be, Peggy and her staff and Teresa and I will trying to put together some framework of you and summarize all the budget inputs and come up with initial set of proposals. But a lot of it's based on once we know what the actual values are and what we actually have for revenue. So, to get back with the court and start working those things, it really isn't useful until we know that. So we'll be moving on to there. And so just briefly, I've given you all a copy of, early copy of the schedule, but this is revised as when we changed the briefing schedule. So as you can see, we're going to be meeting today, the 25th, and then in June, the 1st of June and 8th of June will be our briefing schedule, and so that's kind of the summary of what we have. I do want to yes, sir.
Is there any certain reason why we do everything on Fridays and not on a Thursday or?
Well, we did when we were really doing it just to get them in as close as we can, and that was the day when I could get all the whole court here at one time and not have any potential. When I polled all the commissioners and the judge, and as far as availabilities, this worked out on the best.
I'm gonna have a hard time.
If some department head, if they don't have major changes or whatever, then they may not actually come before us for a hearing, or?
In fact, when I did the schedule, I put it real tight, but there's a few of them that were small departments, had no changes. I have a slot for them. If I had a slot for them, I'd put one in there. If we're tight in a day and we don't get it done, I put those towards the end of the schedule each day so that, we wouldn't have to do that, because there are a number of them that don't have any changes, and they've asked whether they need to come or not. And
Good, thank you.
then lastly, I just wanted to stay as we outset, and these numbers, as we found out last year, and I'm certainly we'll find out again this year, we have received a preliminary appraisal values from the appraisal district, and that is just preliminary. So they haven't started any of their hearings, et cetera, but what we received from them at the end of April was a increase in our overall property values of at 2.5%. From what we had last year in our appraised values, about $465 million increase in valuations. And that,
Including the new growth?
that's the total valuation. So in that valuation, yes, the new, part of that is just appraisal increases, part of that is new growth. And that's why I'm trying to tell you at this point in time, I don't have the breakout on that, Commissioners. So to tell you how that translates into levy is difficult. If I just took and increased our levy by 2.5% from what we had last year, that equates to about $1.3 million in additional levy for the general fund, but that doesn't always run true. Some of the appraisal values may be increased. We know that some of this is increases in senior over 65 disabled peoples who, even though the values go up, the levy stays as it was last year. So these are preliminary numbers, but when like I say, as we've gone through, and Peggy has the best feel on doing these calculations, but I think you'd agree that this.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Steve. You
we can't do a heavy
One way
planning
or
with that
another.
number.
Pretty safe to say between 1 million to 1.3?
No, I wouldn't put any number on it at all.
We had,
It's like Commissioner Ortiz said, I mean, new growth you get direct benefit from, but if you don't know how much is new growth, and then that's a big impact on the over 65 valuations. No, Commissioner, I wouldn't go out there, put any kind of dollar amount until we get the specific category appraisals.
And hopefully before we get up, last year and they cooperated, I believe that, before we get the final violation, certified copy, we will get better information of them, giving us some of that data, so we have something to work with this, so we're not blind up until after, the 25th of.
I'm sorry, what did you say the number was again, Steve?
We had a 2.5% increase in overall value, which was about $465 million increase in appraised property values.
And that includes oil and minerals.
It includes everything, yes.
And that's gone up.
Not over 65, it doesn't take effect until the year. You had to be over 65 January the 1st, right? Not when you turn 65 for the budget process.
I think that's right, yeah.
So for the people that are turning 65 in 2012, it won't hit until the next year's budget.
Right.
I think next year's budget, you're going to see a real hit on the over 65. Because
Sure.
Because the baby boomers are really coming into the 65 and over starting this year.
Any other questions before we can go ahead and move forward with Mike's presentation? Okay.
Steve, may I make a comment?
Certainly,
Commissioner
I'm sorry.
Ortiz? Commissioner Pusley asked about all the other departments. When the commissioners sit down and really start working the numbers in workshops, you can always call another department in at that time, bring them in for any questions. But just for the public's sake, right now you're in the gathering of information stage. No decisions are going to be made, so there's no pressure on you to make any decisions right now. And you certainly don't want to give the departments the idea that, their budget, because you're not making any decisions, your silence at this point is not telling those department heads that their budgets have been accepted as is and will be approved as such. That is not the case here. This is strictly a listening, information gathering phase, and ask questions, good discussions on, whatever you want. But I just want to reemphasize that no department head should think that this is how it's been submitted, this is how it's going to be approved, because depending on the resources available to you, you might end up, you might have to cut. Who knows? So thank you very much.
So just going to the department store and sitting on Santa Claus's lap. Never know what you're gonna get. Okay.
Socks, right?